Hey guys, Crave here, and yep, I am using footage from Fallout 4, but that's not really what I want to talk about, it's really just background footage. Now, besides, I did decide to let my sub expire for a bit while I play other games. Well, after all, nothing is really happening in World of Warcraft right now, even with the release of patch 6.2.3. I mean, nothing new at least. Now, anyway, this upload's a bit late, but so much has been happening in WoW lately, and again, really nothing in the here and now. It's the big stuff about World of Warcraft right now is really just about Legion, even though it's still months away. You have to admit the trailer for Legion was awesome, and you finally get to see Varian taking lead and a little bit of the Dark Lady. And thinking about it, I don't really recall seeing Varian or Sylvanas having their own part in any of the full CGI trailers that Blizzard has done. Anyway, it's just that Blizzard has always been awesome when it comes to cinematics, so that really pushes the excitement level up for the moment for the expansion. Sadly, though, I couldn't say the same for the movie trailer. I thought it was okay-ish. I don't exactly know what put me off with that trailer, but I knew it was going to be filled with CGI, and it really wasn't going to be Lord of the Rings, but yeah, oh well. I'll just have to wait for more follow-up trailers and maybe to see more information about it to make a call, and actually even to watch the movie. But anyway, there was also the recent issue with the release date of Legion, and you gotta admit it's still going to be a while before the expansion comes out. It's really a sad thing to hear, especially since the content droughts has been pretty much a big concern for our sub-based MMO. They did say on their page that it would be on or before September 2016. Maybe they'll pull a Bethesda and release it much earlier. We can hope. I mean, after all, Legion is shaping up to be a really good expansion if you've just been looking at the content lately. I know Warlords did the same thing. They promised so much, but it fell short. Okay, September 2016 is fine. They can take their time. Just avoid doing another Draenor or a Draenor version 2. Also, I'm excited for the Demon Hunter class, especially after seeing some YouTube gameplay from BlizzCon. Now, Swifty recorded some footage for the more recent build of the expansion, but I do wish he did talk about a little bit more about the class and the quest that you had to go through. If you want some variation, you can also check Towellie's, I'm not sure whether I'm pronouncing his name correctly, Towellie's content, since he talked more about the abilities and the quests. So I'll just provide the links in the description box below. And you just have to admit, overpowered or not, whatever design plans they had in store for the class, it's really sick. The double jump and the glide abilities aren't all that great since we see those abilities in other games already. What's really nice about the new class, well, so far from what we know, is that you get, I think it's called Demon Sight, you get to see behind walls and stealth mechanics, so that's an ouch for rogues and ferals. I also have a rogue, so that will suck a bit in PvP. The mastery for Demon Hunters is also really good. That passive speed boost is going to be really, really good whether you're focused on PvE or PvP content. Now, but one of the things that really has my attention in the last few days, and just when I go through the WoW website or MMO Champion, is basically has been the previews for the older classes. Okay, not the non-Demon Hunter classes, and I know nothing's final at this point, but it's pretty much what you're going to see when the Expac goes live. At least it's going to be the general direction of things. I mean. Some classes retain their overall feel, but some classes also see some of their mechanics being overhauled. So I'll just really go through quickly the ones that I find really exciting or I find really interesting. Hunters and that survival spec. It's really looking awesome. It must be frustrating for other hunter specs to lose the trap ability. I mean, it wasn't just in PvP where that set of abilities was really useful. I don't know. I used it a whole lot while leveling, and sometimes even during, even in group content, not in PvP, in the PvP nature. Yeah, it does suck, but yeah, it's now restricted to the survival spec. Now, the idea of bleeding your enemies to death is still pretty much consistent with the damage over time feel it has at the moment. Now, some of the skills that I find interesting are, well, the first one is Harpoon, which is pretty much a charge type effect. And the second one is Mongoose Bite. Looks like an ability you want to avoid in PvP if you're on the receiving end of the damage from the hunter, as it looks like it's going to be the damage it inflicts is stacking in nature. So most likely, since survival hunters are going to be the melee spec for hunters, you'd want to stay as far away as you can from them. Well, it looks like Demonology Warlocks will have more of the Legion's minions to summon. Now, it's not just the number of summons that you can do that really excites me. It's the nature of momentarily empowering anything you call forth. It kind of feels like being able to swarm your enemy, and that one ability that really excites me, or one talent that really has my attention, is the Implosion talent. Now, it looks really fun. Imagine all the wild imps you summon being able to latch onto a target and then go boom and explode all of a sudden. Now, when I imagine it in my head, it sounds like a Zerg bomb to me, and it makes me very, very tempted to spend my boost on my lock when I pre-order next month. And of course, warriors. And unless they mess it up, it looks like arms will be fun again. The thing that caught my attention, at least in the class preview page from Blizzard, is this simple phrase. It just said, "You will find old favorites like Overpower," and I stopped right there. That was really just enough to get my attention. The mere fact that we can have Overpower again, and that it was just mentioned in the preview, no longer mentions that stupid whirlwind ability being a base ability for arms warriors, is a sign of hope that for the arm spec. And yeah, it really, I really missed my arm spec in my Mr. Pandaria arm spec in Jenner. So let's see how things progress. Now, the last spec I played before I let my sub expire for a bit was an assassination rogue, and well, of course, I never really went into combat in Draenor, but looks like in Legion it's going to be renamed to Outlaw spec, and it's looking pretty sick. I mean, the pistol shot skill reminds me of some ability in some other game I used to play, but I just can't remember which one. Now, the fact that one of the other skills, Saber Shot, can also proc a free pistol shot makes the Outlaw spec seem like a really fun and fast-paced spec. Now, that finishing skill called Run Through, it just even the name of that ability, that finisher ability, just really fits the name of the spec, which is Outlaw. Oh, and just one more thing about rogues. Just looking at the class previews, nothing really big, but I'm just pretty glad that my favorite spec in the rogue class, Assassination, looks to be a-okay so far, and I hope nothing terrible, no terrible changes get into the class spec before Legion rolls out. And the last class and spec that I'm, sort of looking forward to in Legion is the tanking spec for Paladins. So it looks really good with the removal of that clunky holy power mechanic. I mean, thank goodness they're taking it out. I mean, the triggering of AoE effects based on whether you're standing on consecration smells like pruning again, but well, at least for this one, it's a good change, at least for me. So it looks like Paladins might compete with my Warrior as my favorite tanking class, unless, of course, Demon Hunters, well, you know what they can. Well, that that Demon Hunter tanking spec is just looks like it's going to be awesome. But yeah, also on Warriors, just quickly on Warriors, the protection spec is looking really awesome with the removal of shield barrier and being replaced by, I think it's Ignore Pain. Yeah, it's looking really awesome. So again, yeah, it's going to be, so far, just looking at what the information we have right now is so far it's looking like a toss up between a Paladin or a Warrior for tanking for me in Legion. And so far, those are at least the things about the previews that have caught my eye or got my interest. So some of the classes and specs are really interesting, but of course there are other changes that look really bad, like the removal of traps for other hunter specs, as I mentioned, and the removal of presences as options for other DK specs. I mean, seriously, what is up with this? Removing of options for players. I mean, removing choices from us is just really a bad thing. It's basically just like what happened with druids and being able to manually shapeshift. Anyway, lots of things will still be changing, but not. You could pretty much consider this to be the general direction for most classes. So with all these preview information. if you do decide to pre-order, yeah, I suggest saving up your boosts. I know it can be tempting at times to just go ahead and spend them, but yeah, if you can, just save your boosts so that you can get more information before you actually boost one other alt that you haven't tried out yet. You know what? In fact, if you're on the fence with the expansion itself, basing it on a number of reasons, but let's use the more obvious one with how Draenor turned out. You don't have to pre-order and just wait until you have more information, like basically to have more basis to decide on whether the expansion is good or not before you make that decision. Now, I haven't purchased the expansion yet, but that's only because I'm taking advantage of this slow period in the game or in World of Warcraft to basically play other games, as you can see in the footage right now, and as you've also seen in my other uploads. And yeah, it's just a really quick one for the previews. Nothing really too in-depth with any of the classes. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll talk to you soon.